चुका है। तो ये भी जानकारी आपको मिलते रहना चाहिए। मैं निवेदन करूंगा रश्मि जी से। रश्मि जैन, प्लीज। हमने कुछ लोगों को जब से मैंने एडमिशन लिया रिसर्च करते देखा, इसमें रश्मि जी है।
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me introduce myself. I'm Rashmi Jain, and all the Rashmis in research, I believe, have all congregated with Pathak sir. We are 4 of us in the class. So, not to add to your confusion, I'm also going in the chronology of applying Shodha Shtotri Dasha. It's not that Vimshotri does not give result in my horoscope. It is giving proper results. Only thing is that when it would have hypothetically taken, let's say, 10 minutes for a prediction to reach a conclusion. This made it easier, and we could arrive at the conclusion in a lesser time because the things were more clearer over here. This also, we had to segregate the horoscope. This also applies for the Shodashtotri Dasha. The Lagn is an even sign, Cancerian Lagn. The degrees are 2 degrees something, and he was born in Krishna Paksh. And the sun is in the second house. Page number 38. Okay, general details are still the same and all that. We'll begin with that he had an elder sibling who was born on October 78. Now the dasha operating for this boy was Moon and Mercury. Now if you see, Moon is the Lagna Lord placed in the 10th house, and Mercury is the 3rd Lord placed in the ascendant itself. Now if you see D3, in D3 also, I don't think D3 is here, but in D3 also, the Lagna remains the same. So hence, Mercury still remains the 3rd Lord, and Moon remains the ascendant Lord. Mercury in itself is placed in the 9th house, whereby it's aspecting the 3rd house. In the basic chart, we find Venus is there sitting, whose dispositor is Mercury, sitting in the 3rd house. This Venus is the 11th Lord also. In D3, Venus is sitting in the 11th house along with Ketu and as the 11th Lord itself, and that gives us an inkling that there was a loss of an elder sibling also, which did happen. From there, we move straight to 2018, previous basic education he had completed here. He went off to New Zealand in 2016 to come to do his master's over there, a business education. So here we find that Dasha was of Venus and Saturn. Now from the MD, Venus, we find that the 5th house is Capricorn, which is the house of Saturn, and Saturn is placed in the 5th house and is aspecting the 7th house, which is the 5th from Venus, the house of education for this Dasha. And Saturn itself is sitting in the 5th house, whose dispositor is Mars. Mars is sitting in the 6th house, aspecting the 12th as well as the Lagna. And this indicates that he could go abroad to study because the 12th house is activity for that reason. So here we find that this applies in the Shodastotri Dasha. And it was, as Mars is the 10th Lord also, it indicates a professional course. Venus as the MD is placed in the 3rd house of Mercury. And Mercury again, the 3rd house again indicates short journeys. So here we find that everything is happening over there, and it's happening with the Mars also. In 2000, he came back, started working and all that. He was working previously also, but nothing to write home about. Then he shifted to Rishikesh, his hometown, in 2020. Now the Dasha was of Venus and Moon. Venus is the 4th Lord of the horoscope, and Moon is the AD, placed in the 10th house, aspecting the 4th house, activating it also. Now Moon, the Lagna Lord, is placed in the 10th house also, indicates work. And he started a new venture in 2020, but it failed to take off. Now Venus, though is the 11th Lord, in the 3rd house indicates efforts. Yet Moon in D10 we find is debilitated in the 9th house. both the planets, Venus as well as Moon, are capable of giving results. But we find that in this period, they did not give results. Reason was that it was peak COVID time, and we can safely say that it was force majeure that was operating for him in this period. But 2022, he started a new venture involving construction activity. The dasha at that time was of Venus Moon, the same dasha which had operated previously, where his business has not taken off. In D10, Venus is the 8th lord, placed in the 11th house, exchanging places with the 11th lord Saturn, which is placed in the 8th house and is exalted there. Now, placement of Saturn, the 11th lord in the 8th house, changing places with Venus, shows an element of suddenness in his system. So in this period of suddenness, he made a lot of money. Moon again we see is in D10, Moon is placed in the 9th house, though we cannot, but as Rao Sahib also says that the dasha or the antardasha of the Lagna Lord is capable of giving good results. Hence, over here, we find that he made a big lump of money in this dasha only, during this period only. So in 2023, he bought property. Dasha was again of Venus and Moon. Venus, the Mahadasha Lord, is the 4th Lord in D1 as well as in D4. And Moon is the AD, placed in the Moon, the AD is the Lagna Lord, placed in the 10th house in D1, aspecting the 4th house of property. In D4, it is also the Lagna Lord, placed in the 7th house, aspecting the Lagna, which is also the 4th from 4th. And Venus, the 11th Lord, is placed in the 12th house in D10, along with Mars, which is the Karak for property. Venus going in the 12th house of expenditure shows expenditure. And this expenditure is of what nature? It is that money was spent in acquiring a property. Now, this boy is not married as yet, because we see that there is a basic delay in his marriage in D1 itself. We can see Saturn aspecting the 7th house, again indicating a delay, though it's his own house, but yet the dasha has also not come. And Venus, the natural karak for marriage, is debilitated in D1, though it escapes debilitation in D9, but yet it is in Rahu Ketu axis also. So in D30, now the dasha, as of today, which has started operating today, is of Venus and Mercury. Hopefully, as Mercury is placed in the Lagna and connected to the dasha lord, we hope that he is going to get married.